Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Merry Christmas, everybody. And a Happy New Year. I see we've already got Bruce Birtwhistle, Jose, MMA, Kermode Bear, Bucks Nasty, Kim McCurry, hi Kim, Floby Tenderson, and Frickety, as well as Andy Opperman in the chat. Good morning, guys. Nice to see everybody there, guys and gals. When you see a guy look like star in the sky, you can bet that he's doing it for some dough. Wrong show, Austin. Mark Zuckerberg donates $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration fund. Yes. Barney, that is not a funny prank over there, dude. Please don't do that. Messes with me, man. Throws me off my game. Makes the show worse. Please just only say no sound if there really is no sound. It's the Wake Up America show. I'm your host. We're going to have an absolutely stellar show. Some scary stuff happening, though. In New Jersey, the mystery drones are back. Swarms of drones reported in American skies. This time in New Jersey. Who is operating the drones? Where are they coming from? Are they domestic or are they foreign? Should we be afraid of something like this? Honestly, sounds pretty terrifying. We're going to talk about that this morning as well after we talk about the Mark Zuckerberg donation of $1 million to Donald Trump's inauguration fund. Do you trust Mark Zuckerberg?
Oh, God!
I sure as hell don't either.
Please, no!
We're going to talk about that this morning, and then I've got more. A billion clips, as usual. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome in advance. We're going to talk about the situation. How do I say this? Hold on, I'm looking at this story here. Before I get to that, Jeremy Kauffman will be joining us live this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. He's done a full and thorough debunking of the claims made by the alleged killer in New York, Luigi Mangione, who murdered the United Healthcare CEO last week in New York City. He's now been captured and is fighting extradition from Altoona, Pennsylvania to New York City. And we're going to speak to Jeremy Kauffman this morning about the claims that Luigi Mangione made in his manifesto, and specifically regarding healthcare outcomes in the United States related to insurance profits. Jeremy did some numbers on that. Not hard to do a little actuarial math on that one, is it? Well, it's hard for me, but that's why I bring Jeremy Kauffman out here to explain it, because I'm kind of, when it comes to my brains, I'm very mid. When it comes to my looks, well...
Wake up, you sexy bitch. It's time to sin.
Speaking of time to sin, I just want to warn everybody, especially CO Day, who I saw yesterday, this very heartwarming comment from one of our listeners in the chat. CO Day says that he likes playing the Wake Up America show while his kids are listening, while they're getting ready for school in the mornings. And I love that. And I try and keep my cursing to an absolute minimum. I try and make the show as family friendly as possible. However, every once in a while, a topic comes along that I feel the need to cover that might be rated R, or even today's topic, I'm afraid, might be a little rated X. I would never be able to talk about a topic like this if I was still on the radio, and I can do whatever I want. I can curse, I can swear, I can talk about whatever I want, but I choose not to, just to try and reach a nice broad audience and to be a little different from most podcasters and things. So, but whenever I do a topic that's like rated R, rated X, I always warn you guys. So today at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we are going to talk about a very seriously adult topic with Daniela Pensack. So please, if you can, if you're in the chat, will you do me a favor? And as we get closer to 8:30, I'm sure I will remember to remind people, but just as we're approaching 8:30, remind people that in the chat, let people know that this live stream is going to go from bad to worse. So it's going to be me talking to Daniela Pensack about a woman, Lily Phillips, who is an OF model, and she apparently had encounters with 100 men in a day. And I was reading some conservative blogs about it, specifically The Spectator, and one, I believe she's a fellow Rumble host. She's got her own show here on Rumble, Kim Iverson. And after this documentary had come out, where Lily Phillips, after she had this encounter, this 100-man encounter, she was in this documentary, and the video had reemerged of her crying after that encounter, after the 100-person encounter. And the conservative women blamed the men. Of course. Of course they did. Deep down, any conservative woman will turn into a liberal, leftist, feminist as soon as you approach them with this thing called accountability. We're going to talk about that with Daniela at 8:30. Anyways, I just want to let you guys know that at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, this time we're going to have a conversation with Daniela Pensack. It's going to be rated R. It's going to be rated X. It's not going to be pretty. It's not the kind of thing that you really want to have your kids listening to. And so there is your big, long, wide disclaimer. And if your kids are hearing me at 8:30, that's your fault. Okay? Okay. Mark Zuckerberg's Meta donates $1 million to Donald Trump's inaugural fund. Boo! What is this? What are we all about money now? Is that what's going on here? Meta Platforms has donated $1 million to President-elect Donald Trump's inaugural fund. It's the latest step by CEO Mark Zuckerberg to bolster his once fraught relationship with the incoming president. Yes, I think we all remember when you literally banned him from your platform, let alone many millions of his fans and people like myself who, for jokes, have been suppressed 30, 60, 90 days. Not even jokes, statements of literal fact. For example, I remember getting a 4-month ban on Meta for saying Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. 4-month ban. The next day, the jury deliberated and said Mark Zuckerberg, Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong, confirming that what I had said was in fact true. Did they rescind the 4-month ban? No, absolutely not. No, and I hate those guys. But you're wrong, and I hate you. The donation confirmed by the company is a departure from past practice by Zuckerberg and his company and comes after an election campaign in which Trump threatened to punish the tech tycoon if he tried to influence the election against him. The contribution and efforts to court the incoming administration are emblematic of the balancing act for tech CEOs whose companies have often been the target of ire from Trump and other Republicans and whose workforces tend to lean strongly to the left. Right. I've always said that I would be willing to pay up to $10,000 to anyone who will leak evidence of the tools and methods of suppression that are used by Facebook's content policy policing team. I said it and I mean it. If there is anyone that you know that works for Meta and can get me inside information on how the decisions are made, on who to suppress, how they use the algorithm to squash opinions like Donald Trump's and mine and yours on that platform, then I will pay $10,000 for useful, actionable, correct information. And I'm in the game, baby. I'm paying. That's right. Now, with Republicans set to take control of the White House and both houses of Congress calling for a new regulation of tech, some executives are adopting a new posture towards Trump. Wow. It's amazing what happens when you're out of power. It's so predictable to see now all of these big tech CEOs simping for Donald Trump, right? So obviously want to get close to power. And I understand the strategy, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And if that's the reason that Donald Trump is bringing these people in, I understand it. But these people literally banned you from their platforms. The Washington Post is a magazine that exists now solely to smear and deny, deflect, defend everything that Donald Trump is doing in his incoming administration. I mean, these are your enemies, right? Yeah, I get it. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But this whole Mark Zuckerberg, I'm in my libertarian moment, he's talking about to reporters and things. He's in his libertarian era. I believe you, but my Tommy gun don't. No. You see, I'm the man who got banned from Facebook during my senatorial election, the week of the Senate primary here in the state of Missouri. Banned, right? I banned 2 or 3 times while Facebook was donating, Facebook CEO Sheryl Sandberg, donating to my opponent on the Democratic side, Claire McCaskill, giving millions of dollars to the Democrats and suppressing the voices on the other side of the aisle. You see, and what's interesting too, about the way that these algorithms work. See, I'm not a conspiracy theorist on a whole lot of things, but one thing I am a conspiracy theorist on is that whether it's a right-wing tech platform or a left-wing tech platform, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And if you're not paying a certain amount, right? If you're not kicking enough back up to the top, then your content doesn't get seen, you don't get heard, you don't get in the feeds. And listen, I understand it. They're in the business to make money, but it's politics as well. There's a lot of dirty business that goes on with these tech platforms. So I really hope that the Trump administration doesn't just say, we're not going to do any investigations into the whole fact. I mean, my wife, Stephanie Peterson, sweetest woman of all, appears in the Twitter files that were dropped by Elon Musk and Matt Taibbi, which showed that the senator from Maine, Angus King, had put my wife's name on a list to ask for her to be banned because they called her an out-of-state troll for supporting the libertarian Republican Eric Brakey for the U.S. Senate a few years ago. Well, good for you, Steffi. I'm a little jealous I didn't put her on any government list like that. But we should have an investigation. The only way that I would ever trust Mark Zuckerberg or begin to trust Mark Zuckerberg, it doesn't matter how much money he gives, right? Money is nothing to these people. It's like, try and get your head around this. For us, $1 million, like what would we do? Like I'd buy a minivan, get my kids around. I'd put 500 of that into interest-bearing, stocks, dividends, ETFs, mutual funds, college funds for the kids. Like we make a bunch of wise decisions for that. But for them, $1 million is like spending money when Stephanie and I go out and watch a movie or something like that, right? That's nothing for them, right? Oh, wow, he gave $1 million. Well, that's a lot of money to you, right, peasant? It's not a lot of money to you. It's like, if I was like, oh, I gave 50 cents to the Salvation Army on the street, the guy, the bell ringing, you know what I mean? Like, that is, okay, that's nothing for me, right? To give 50 cents to the Salvation Army. But that's like Mark Zuckerberg giving $1 million is like me giving 50 cents at the Salvation Army. It's not a big deal. Mark Zuckerberg but they're going to parrot it. They're going to trump it like, oh, it's a big deal. We gave $1 million. That's nothing for him. Now, if Mark Zuckerberg were to here's what I want. I want him to cut off the tip of his. I want to cut the tip of his finger off. I want omerta. I want to see Mark Zuckerberg come to the table, right? I want Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to sit there with a butcher knife, and I want to just see Mark Zuckerberg say, you know what? I'm in the family now, right? And we're going to cut the tip of his pinky off right there, okay? Just right there. We're going to cut his pinky. And not even then am I satisfied. Then you have to drop the Facebook files, right? You have to do what Elon Musk did and Matt Taibbi did. You have to tell us what you've been doing to us. You have to tell us about all of the suppression that's been going on, just exactly like Elon Musk did. That's why I trust Elon Musk. If Elon Musk had bought X or Twitter and not made any changes, not dropped anything, and it kept everybody's privacy and kept, protected all of the people, the enemies of people like you and I, of free speech, then I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't trust Elon Musk, right? But when it comes to Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, right? I want 2 things. I want him to drop the Facebook files. Let us know how you've been suppressing us. Let us know what you did, how you worked with the government, how you censored people for posting the Hunter Biden laptop story on your platform, people who were censored over their legitimate opinions on COVID-19. And I want your pinky, Mark Zuckerberg. I want to slice that thing off. I want to cut it off. Who's with me? Omerta. Omerta. Thank you to Floby Tenderson for the $10 donation, bud. Appreciate that. Says today's his 12th wedding anniversary. Please send your ladies to the whitehangerboutique.com to support my beautiful conservative wife and buy cute stuff so she could buy me a gift. That's a great idea. Thank you, Floby. Isn't that nice? Floby Tenderson says he'd be happy if you just dumped the metaphiles. Not enough. Not enough. I want blood. All right. I want blood. Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos, long a foe of the president, congratulated Trump on X after the election for an extraordinary political comeback and decisive victory, and said this month he was actually very optimistic this time around. What I've seen so far is that he is calmer than he was the first time and more confident, more settled. Now, if you're a regular viewer of the Wake Up America show, you might remember that before the election, when we read Jeff Bezos' letter in the Washington Post as to why the Washington Post would not issue an endorsement this year for President of the United States, marking the first time in some number of years. But I think Jeff Bezos saw the writing on the wall. And for them, this is politics. This is jockeying. This is them trying to get as close as they can to the president. This is not about, standing with MAGA ideals. They're not standing for freedom. They're not standing for limited government. They're not standing for anything other than saving their own ass, protecting their business interests. And frankly, if Donald Trump brings them into the fold and doesn't do anything, it doesn't demand anything from these guys, I'm going to be a little disappointed. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. I've got the voice to text, whatever. I've got the text messages pulled up. The Fed Up Kentuckian says, like the FBI, Facebook is corrupt to the core. Like the FBI, it must be abolished completely. Totally with you, brother. We're going to talk about the FBI, too. I've got the story of Christopher Wray resigning and video of Kash Patel, the new incoming head of the FBI, reacting to it in real time. It's a great video. I've got that. We're going to talk about the drones situation as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, I do want to remind you, please do.
Can you bless me with
me with something.
Oh, gosh.
money-wise? Please.
Can you suck it?
Head on over to forlibertyshop.com, guys. I'm drinking delicious Founding Flavors coffee today. If you'd like to get yourself some as well. If you haven't tried it, what's stopping you from trying it? I'm trying it. I'd be very curious because here's what I like to say. If you haven't tried it, and if you're curious about trying it, if you're thinking, oh, I'll pay, whatever the price is, and then I'll get it and I won't like it and I'll feel regret, buyer's remorse, send it back. I'll refund you. It's no problem. I'll drink it. I love it. I drink it every day. Founding Flavors coffee is exclusively sold at forlibertyshop.com. You can't get it anywhere else. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself a box of delicious coffee, and we'd be glad to have you. Q Faye says, good morning, Austin. Well, good morning. Good morning. We slept the whole night through, except for my baby Hazel, poor little baby. Good morning to nothing could be grander than to be from Louisiana. What's up on that Liberty Manifesto? Fred Siegel had asked on Tuesday at 7:51 in my text messages. Yes, I wrote a manifesto, and if you don't read it, I swear to God, I will kill you all. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. In Minecraft. John and KC says, smash the like buttons and follow the channel. Yes, John and Rail, thank you very much. And a Merry Christmas to you, sir. Good morning. Fred Siegel, he read my manifesto, and I didn't even have to murder him to do it. He said, Austin, your libertarian nationalism manifesto is spot on, brother. This needs to be a 300-page book. Might just end up being that. I just finished reading my printed copy. It rings loud in my ears, friend. Write the book with the historical proficiency you have and tour the hell out of it on every podcast, every TV show, and every radio broadcast. This message needs to be heard. He says the part under rejecting cultural nihilism struck a chord with me, but he wavered on the discussion around secession. I do write about secession in my manifesto. He says, after reading that section, I reject the idea of any state secession from the Union. It is so clear. And the 21st century manifest destiny is so damn good. Yes, let us expand these vitally important ideas, not fracture them. Thank you, Fred. We're very glad to have your support, Fred. You've been a big supporter, and frickety frack, we love you, bud. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Nothing could be grander than to be from Louisiana. The mystery drones are back, this time over New Jersey. The swarms appear similar to those that flew over sensitive military sites in Virginia last year. Just what the hell is going on? Dozens of mysterious drones have appeared in the skies over New Jersey in recent weeks, perplexing state and federal officials and agitating residents. The drones, which residents there have reported seeing over military installations, power lines, and suburban neighborhoods, appear eerily similar to a fleet that swarmed suburban neighborhoods, sensitive national security sites on Virginia's eastern shoreline 1 year ago. Eyewitnesses in New Jersey describe the sightings as loud and numerous, much larger than those typically used by hobbyists, and appearing primarily at night. They have been spotted in 8 counties across the state, including near at least 3 military facilities. The drone incidents over New Jersey are the latest in a series of bizarre episodes involving large unmanned aircraft flying freely over American soil near sensitive sites that have baffled investigators. Over 2 weeks last December, swarms of drones buzzed over Joint Base Langley, Eustis in Virginia, forcing commanders there to remove sensitive aircraft. Officials from the Pentagon to the White House have brainstormed responses, well, if I only had a brain, but never publicly identified who was flying them or what they were doing. A Pentagon spokesperson attempted on Wednesday to bat down rumors that the New Jersey drones were being launched by a U.S. adversary, but offered no visibility into their origin or response. The cryptic nature of the U.S. government's response only seemed to fan theories about what might be behind the appearances. I was reading Scott Adams' post about this just yesterday, and he wrote that he wrote this. Okay, assuming our military doesn't know what's up with the New Jersey drone visitations, America has no functional air defense, and the Joint Chiefs should be fired immediately. That would explain 9/11 and the Chinese spy balloon. But I'm still betting on vendors demonstrating their drones as part of a military procurement process. I assume our military is doing massive, quote, bake-offs to see who makes the best drones domestically. That should be happening now, bigly. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. This is, hold on, we got lots of drones. California apparently also reporting some drones in the air as well. Take a look at here. Giant drones. They're not like small drones. These are like giant drones, the kind of drones that they use in the Ukraine-Russia war.
Where they're going to go, but before they come down, they turn the lights off.
Yeah, watch this. Watch it.
So we're going to go in the morning, maybe, sometime during the day. There's so many.
Also spotted in Phoenix, Philly, Jersey, and other places all over the country. All over the city.
And considering how high we up, they can go all the way up here. We saw one a little bit ago, all the way up here, so they can get high. These are not just like cheapy drones. These are real expensive,
yes,
high-flying drones. I'm so cold. Those are, they get high, dude. Yeah.
This is a big problem. Big problem here. Hold on one here. This is New Jersey State Rep Brian Bergen complaining about the lack of national security.
All right, so you're here today. You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today, spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Do they have any idea where these drones are originating?
No, they don't. They would. Maybe if they followed that sucker to when it landed, they would know, but they don't. This is a complete lack of effort, in my opinion, on trying to figure this out. This is not about ability. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the training, we have the resources, we have the money. It's just a lack of effort. I mean,
Why?
I don't know. They should be saying, you know what they should have done today with productive use of our time, if they didn't know anything? Come in there and say, hey, legislators, we don't know anything. But if you get us these 10 things, do these 10 things for us, and the governor calls in this kind of action, we can figure it out. Will you help us? And then we would have helped them. But instead it was just excuse after excuse, and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
Yeah, that's New Jersey State Representative Brian Bergen. He walked out of the Homeland Security briefing on the drone situation in New Jersey. Here we have a little bit of time-lapse footage. This is not, a lot of people are sharing this video of the drones and saying this is from New Jersey, but this is actually not. A lot of people, you're going to see this on X and in different places, as reported that these are the drones in New Jersey and stuff like that, but this is not from New Jersey. This was taken in Wisconsin. But still, same situation here, right? Mysterious drones. Some people are blaming Iran.
Well, here's the real deal, Harris. I'm also on the Transportation Committee, on the Aviation Subcommittee, and I've gotten to know people. And from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off, I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Now, we know there was a probability it could have been our own government. We know it's not our own government because they would have let us know. It could have been some really glorified hobbyist or hobbyists that were doing something unbelievable. They don't have the technology. But let's pretend that's possible. The third possibility was somebody, an adversarial country, doing this. Know that Iran made a deal with China to purchase drones, motherships, and technology in order to go forward. The sources I have are good. They can't reveal who they are because they are speaking to me in confidentiality. These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine, or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down. We are not getting the full deal, and the military is on alert with this.
Look, you've given us some pretty dire information just here, and I want to make sure that our viewers are digesting this. Iran has the capability to pull up along our eastern seaboard and launch drones the size of an SUV into the skies of several states, particularly New Jersey, where we know the incoming president has a large home, also in the same county or nearby where some of these drones in New Jersey.
Yeah, see, we're hearing reports right now that some of these drones may be flying over Mar-a-Lago in Florida as well. This is how the Pentagon reacted.
Jen. Sabrina, can you tell me what the Pentagon is doing to address this issue of drone sightings over New Jersey? It's near sensitive installations. The FBI is involved. What is the Pentagon doing?
Sure. So at this time, aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but...
well, then if that's the official Pentagon stance on it, then it's definitely a foreign entity launching drones here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely Iran then. If they're saying it's not, that's exactly what it is.
At no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Our installations, I'm going to decode the Pentagon speak for you. At many points, the military installations in the United States were under severe threat.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones.
Some of these are U.S. military drones.
Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
These are drones and coming from a foreign entity or an adversary. You know what I'm saying? That's how you speak Pentagon. Here's what Dan Bongino had to say about it.
Let's go. I'm going to throw something out at you right up front here. They know exactly who owns these drones and what they're doing in the sky. But they don't want to tell you for a reason. The reason is the United States government and the deep staters involved in it, they don't want to scare you with their own inadequacy.
Yeah, that's what I believe.
Folks, I'm telling you right now, they know who these drones belong to. We are at real risk here. Our airspace is not secure. They don't know what to do with these drones. And, you know, I said bottom line up front, so I hate teases because they're for morons. Oh, stay tuned later in the show. If you like the show, you'll stay no matter what. I'm 95% sure, if not more, it's China or some foreign adversary.
I like teases. Stick around, and at 8:30 a.m., we're going to speak to Daniela Pensack about sex stuff. How's that for a tease? And they won't do an effing thing about it. Yeah, exactly, John Rail. Thank you very much for joining us here in the on the chat. Good morning, everybody. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. You can send a text to the show. Let us know what's on your mind at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open, and you can send one to us at 573-319-1586. CO Day says, my question is, what is the power source? There's no way they can have these kinds of lengthy flight times. How can they maneuver in a way that they do? Great question, CO Day. And just a reminder, I was saying earlier that at 8:30 a.m. Central, I know you like to let your kids listen to the show, but at 8:30 a.m., so 1 hour from now, we're going to go into rated R territory. So make sure that you mute it for the little kids and maybe just listen to it on a headset. But I was thinking about you when you had tweeted that your kids love to listen to the Wake Up America show. At 8:30 today, it's going to be adult chatter, right? So about an hour from now. But he says, what is the power source? Well, you know, have any of you guys ever used the Apple headphones, the headsets? So they have this little charging station, right? And you put them inside of that charging station, and they can be charged from that exterior device. My guess is that the minivan-sized drone acts as the mothership and then releases the smaller drones, and the smaller drones can then return to mother and be recharged in the larger drone outfit. Now, what happens to that larger drone situation? No idea. And how they got it here, people are like, well, they can't even they're using speedboats in the Gulf, right? How could they use this kind of technology? Well, it's simple. You just have sleeper cells and sleeper agents here in the United States who will then release who are acting on behalf of the foreign government and then release it in the information. So COD says, appreciate that, AP. Kids are out the door aside from the 15-year-old. Okay, well, thank you very much, COD, FYI. Just wanted to make sure that being respectful for everybody. And you can text us just like CO Day at 573-319-1586. Again, that's 573-319-1586. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's happening with the drone situation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what should be done. Should the U.S. government be shooting these down out of the sky? What do you guys think? Again, that text line, 573-319-1586. How do Americans feel about the incoming Trump administration? Pretty good, it turns out.
A majority of Americans, 54%, say they expect him to do a good job as president. And we asked specifically, do you have confidence in all of these areas about how Trump will perform and his ability to handle it? And once again, as we saw throughout the campaign, the economy is issue number one of his strength. 65%, two-thirds of Americans in this poll say they have some or a lot of confidence in Trump's ability to manage and handle the economy as president. And you see Russia, Ukraine followed there, then immigration, and his leadership skills, his what he intends to use his power for, whether that'll be responsibly not, a bit lower. But again, all of this is majority support. So that is where things stand right now.
There you go. Okay, and I wonder if it's because of headlines I'm reading like this. It's from the Wall Street Journal. It says Hamas concedes on Israeli troops in Gaza, raising hopes for a hostage deal. Militants back down on presence of Israeli troops in Gaza after the war and hand over lists of hostages they would release under a pact. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump directly had something to do with it, but my guess is that many of the dictators, tyrants, and antagonists of the United States around the world are probably looking to make deals because they don't want to have to make a deal with Donald Trump in charge. Just my guess. It's not to suggest that that's going to stop any of the shenanigans from happening. They're always going to try and get a leg up on us. But my guess is that Donald Trump will be able to successfully reach a ceasefire and bring an end to the conflicts in Israel and Gaza, as well as Russia and Ukraine. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. It's the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Have you clicked like yet on the stream? Click the like button and follow. Very important to click that follow button as well so that you can get an update or a notification whenever the Wake Up America Show goes live. For the hardcore of hardcores, you know it's Monday through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. But for those who might be new and are enjoying this show, if you click follow, you'll get a alert to remind you when we go live on Rumble. But we'd love to have you be a regular guest and have you join us in the chat at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. Many of you, if you're joining us here for the very first time today, are curious about the show. So me, Austin Peterson, I host this show, and me and my wife have invested our lives, our fortune, our sacred honor into building the For Liberty Network. That's me and my wife and a couple of our staffers and an army of supporters and volunteers and donors who've helped us to take the Wake Up America Show, this podcast, and turn it into 3 shows, which is now what we call the For Liberty Network. And the For Liberty Network at forlibertynetwork.com is me, the Wake Up America Show, Liberty Tonight, and Culturama. And Culturama starring Daniela Pensack. She'll be here today on the show at 8:30. But her show is Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evenings from 7 to 9. I'm 7 to 9 in the mornings. She's 7 to 9 in the evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then tonight, the Liberty Tonight boys take over right after Daniela and Culturama are over from 9 to 11. So the For Liberty Network is all about advancing the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty, American republicanism, limited government, freedom, American values, and all the good things and none of the bad things. So make sure that you're checking us out and some of our other shows on the For Liberty Network. If any of you have been watching some of the other shows on the network, I'd love to hear your feedback. And you can send that in as a text message at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Podcasts like mine and people like Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and others, we are the media now. And even the left, even left liberal Democrats know it. Take a listen.
Why do you think Democrats lost, and what do you think needs to happen by the midterms and the next presidential election in order to find your footing again?
Well, Kristen, no disrespect to you. I think you do great work. But the reality is that those that tune in to traditional news sources, they absolutely went for us. And we know that the standards that you have to live by as an actual journalist are completely different from other platforms. And so we know that we were winning for those that were tuning into the traditional news sources. But when it came down to people getting their news from places that really aren't even news sources, they were going for Donald Trump by 19 points. And that is exactly why we lost. The reality is that we're going to have to play in spaces that we've never had to play and make sure that we're communicating in all ways. Unfortunately, we can't just rely on the mainstream media to get our message across.
We're going to have to actually talk to other people. We're going to have to get off of the mainstream media. We're going to have to actually talk to other people outside of our little bubble. Do you hear what she said there, right? That the Democrats lost in November because people like you, who are uneducated, who don't listen to the accredited journalists in the mainstream media, no, instead you're listening to Austin Peterson at the Wake Up America show. You love to see it. You love to see it. I do see that we've got a nice little audience over on X as well this morning. Nice to see you guys. If you'd like to be a part of the chat, it's hard to do so over on X. It's not really set up for that. Yeah, there is a chat, and they, for whatever reason, X just makes it really difficult to like see the show if you don't actually click on the link over there. So if you're watching us over on X.com this morning, I'd love to have you introduce yourself to us. And I know you're lazy, you don't want to have to click another button and come over here and join us. But if you're really dedicated to our mission and what it is that we're doing, and you want to be a part of our community, the best place to join us is at rumble.com/AP for Liberty. That way I can see your chats. That way we can communicate with each other. You can be a part of the chat room. And honestly, if you guys, if you haven't met the people in the chat room, they're a wild and woolly bunch. So check them out. Yes, they have standards here.
We've been talking a lot about this Luigi Mangione.
These are the people that they want you to listen to, because these are the people who have standards.
We've been talking a lot about this Luigi Mangione, the case about the United Healthcare CEO. People are very angry at United Healthcare. I think for good reason, denying care and the whole system. And we were just talking in the previous block. Killing a CEO is not the way you change. You have to regulate them, right? And so we've got attempts to try to rein in some of these big businesses. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was your creation. The Trump administration wants to get rid of it. That is like protecting people from like credit card fraud. Yeah. What happens if that goes away?
So look, terrible for individuals, but stop and think overall about the social contract. Part of the deal in how we've kept...
Social contract? Excuse me?
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
This democracy...
I didn't sign shit. Excuse the social contract.
Economy, this country, on a fairly steady path for more than 200 years, has been that those at the top pay a little more in taxes, are a little less rich than they otherwise might be, and everybody else at least gets a chance. Yeah. And what happens when you turn this into the billionaires run it all is they get the opportunity to squeeze every last penny. Yeah. And look, we'll say it over and over. Violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of United Health. But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
There it is. They start taking matters in their hands. You see, that's them condoning the violence, you see. See, they hate us and they want us dead. And that's no longer hyperbole. That's a sitting U.S. senator condoning the murder of a healthcare executive because they're richer than her. She's greedy. Remember, they're the ones who are greedy for going out there and making a living on their own, but not the people who want to steal their money. Right? You're not greedy if you want to steal the money from the healthcare executives. You're only greedy if you go out there and you exchange your labor for a good hard day's pay. And get too rich and make too much money off of it. Those are the greedy people, not the people who want to steal it from us. They're not the greedy people, but no offense.
But it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
I note that Kim McCurry, the lovely lady of Liberty, says that she's about to have her first drink of Martha's mint coffee this morning coming up. Smells magnificent, like Andy's Candy Mints. Yes, it is so good. The Martha's Mint, remember, it's going away in like 10, 15 days or so. We don't have much time left to order the holiday coffees. I noted Cecilia this morning went over and got herself one of the holiday coffees. I think you guys are going to miss the boat if you've never tried Martha's Mint or the roasted pecan. You've got to get your orders in now at 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. Just a reminder, guys, that time is ticking down, and honestly, a lot of packages have been getting lost. Not ours. We've had like one package or two, sorry, son of Jonah, that had failed to be delivered, but it's the post office and it's the UPS and the FedEx people. Of course, they're dealing with higher volume, but we haven't had any problems so far with any of our coffee deliveries from what I could tell. But over at ForLibertyShop.com, the holiday blends are here, but not for long. So head on over to ForLibertyShop.com and grab a box of Martha's Mint coffee. Here's what I recommend you do, guys, if you're a fat kid like me and you love the sugar. RFK Jr. would be very disappointed if he heard me explain this to you. But here's how to really enjoy Martha's. If you want to enjoy Martha's Mint the way I enjoy it, okay? This is fat kids, okay? You get You get the Martha's Mint coffee, and I see Kim Curry saying no bitter flavor. I didn't even add sugar like I normally do. She's flavoring her coffee is usually a must. She says the mint is super mild in flavor. Yes, it is. Kermode reminding you, buy the mint. You would thank me later. Yes, it is delicious. And a single box is good for people who just want to try it, but I think Kermode bought like 5 boxes, so he's like stocked up for the next year. So if you do love it, stock up on it because you won't be able to get it later until a year from now, okay? But Martha's Mint, the way I enjoy it is I put a little bit of cream, a tiny bit of sugar, like just a slight little hint of sugar in it, and then a generous dollop of chocolate sauce. So you get the chocolate, you get the mint, the cream rises to the top. It's fat kid heaven. I'm just saying. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not happy with me, okay? Kermode says 5. No, I've bought like at least 10 so far. Okay, Kermode, there you go. You got to have that with your salmon in the morning. So again, get those orders in, guys. Grab yourself a box of Martha's Mint and try the Roasted Chestnut Delight. I think you will love it. And of course, while you're there, throw in a couple of shirts into your cart as well. The Doge Field Agent Tee is a very popular T-shirt. Department of Government Efficiency. You can't get these products anywhere else. I'm seeing a 5-star review, probably from the lovely Cecilia, who got herself a Doge Field Agent hoodie. This is our standard hoodie. It's super comfy, and I really love them, and it's a really good deal. But I also made an elite, like super high status version of that that you guys might like to check out. If you go in and you type Doge Adidas, it's something like that. Hold on, like Adidas. I've made a version of this. There we go. The Adidas version, which is kind of like the super premium version of the hoodie. So if you're into that, then you can get that as well, again, at forlibertyshop.com. But guys, please don't get mad at me if you order something and it doesn't arrive in time for the holidays, because, come on. Now is I'm not Amazon, and I can't be Amazon. I apologize that I can't be Amazon. But this is a super high quality Adidas blend. So check it out. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself a Javier Milei, a Fuera stocking, maybe a pair of Fuera sneakers to put in the stocking. The ladies love the earrings, the We the People earrings. Stephanie really wants the George Washington cutting board. Will she get it for Christmas? No one knows. The AR-15 pillow, another very popular item. And again, stock up, guys, and help support the show. Go to forlibertyshop.com. You can snuggle up with your favorite firearm. The AK-47, the AR-15, the Energy Sword Pulo, C-96 Pulo, the Fat Man nuclear bomb, if you want to have dreams of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was the one they dropped on Hiroshima. The George Washington flintlock pistol, grenades, Glock Pulos, and of course, we wouldn't be a Pulo collection if you couldn't sleep on a nice, cozy Killdozer Pulo. It's the only place in the whole world that you can get Pulos of firearms like these, cut into the shape of some of your favorite firearms, some of the best firearms, your favorite firearms, and you can only get them at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. In about 10 minutes, we're going to speak to Jeremy Kaufman. He's going to debunk Jeremy Mangione's manifesto against against healthcare executives and the percentage of spending compared to GDP that Luigi Mangione wrote in his manifesto. Jeremy Kaufman will talk to us about in 10 minutes. Before we do, Christopher Wray, director of the FBI, resigns.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down. After weeks of careful thought.
Here is Kash Patel, the new director of the FBI, hearing the news.
What's your reaction to Ray's resignation? We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
There he is, Kash Patel, ready on day one. Fox News reported it.
Well, John, Christopher Wray, the FBI director, is making this announcement right now in an all-staff town hall with thousands of FBI employees across the country. He says now is his time to go. As you mentioned, he has a 10-year term. All FBI directors do. He was 7 years into his 10-year term, and realistically, he had two options. Wait to be fired by President-elect Donald Trump because Trump announced Kash Patel would take over, over or bow out before. He has chosen to bow out before. Ray is a former Republican lawyer, former DOJ prosecutor here in Washington, D.C., hired by Trump in 2017 after Trump fired James Comey after the entire Russia investigation probe. And Ray pretty much stayed out of the headlines as much as he could, at least. But in 2022, former President Trump became increasingly angry when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago during the classified documents investigation. Of course, that was ordered by Attorney General Merrick Garland, who oversees the Justice Department, not Christopher Wray.
We have a shitty government and we need cash now. Call Cash Patel. 877 cash now. 877 cash now. 877 cash now. 877 cash now. Now they're saying, oh, he was a Republican lawyer. There wasn't any problems. He kept his head down the whole time. Here's Christopher Wray in a 2022 Senate Oversight Committee answering questions to Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Take a listen.
Senator, I had a flight that I'm supposed to be hightailing it to out of here, and I had understood that we were going to be done at 1:30, so that's how we ended up where we are.
Is that keeping your head down, I guess?
If it's your business trip, you got your own plane. Can it wait a while?
I've tried to make my break as fast as I could to get right back out here.
And you took more than 5 minutes.
The press reported shortly thereafter that the reason that the hearing had to be cut short is because you were flying on a Gulfstream jet for a personal vacation in the Adirondacks. Please tell me that's not accurate.
Senator, the hearing was not cut short from my experience. We had agreed beforehand on the time and length of it, and I was very surprised to find that anyone on the committee was surprised. As to how I fly, I am required, not only permitted, but required to fly on an FBI plane wherever I go.
So you were going on vacation?
I was, yes.
So you left a statutorily required oversight hearing in order to go on a personal vacation in the Adirondacks?
I took a flight to go visit my family.
You said you had a plane to catch. You had somewhere to go. And now we find out it was for vacation?
The reference to other business was not a reference to that day. It was a reference to the following week where Senator Grassley and I were going to see each other in Iowa when I had other business in Iowa. And I did, in fact, see him then.
So wait, you had to leave the hearing early because you're going to see him later in Iowa in a week?
No, I had to leave when I said I was going to have to leave, as had been previously organized with the leadership of the committee.
You left an oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee required by statute so you could vacation.
877 cash now. 877 cash now. 877 cash now. It's time for us to take a brief little commercial break. When we get back, Jeremy Kauffman debunks Luigi Mangione, United Healthcare CEO, alleged killer, and his manifesto and his claims on healthcare spending and healthcare outcomes. We'll be right back on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Don't go away.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian, and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. We're glad to have you here. Please click that like button. And if you're new to the show today and you've been enjoying the content and you'd like to come back and join us again, this is a 5-day-a-week show, a 2-hour live show, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. And the easiest way to get notifications whenever we go live is to click that follow button that you'll see over on the Rumble stream. Underneath the video, it should say follow. Click that follow button. You'll get notifications when we go live when it's 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. It's a great place to hang out, talk about freedom, meet other patriots and freedom fighters, people who believe in truth, justice, and the American way. Like my next guest, who's something of a New Hampshire supremacist, but who is suspiciously coming to us from Mountain Time. His name's Jeremy Kaufman, and he wrote a post that went viral. It got reposted by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, where he was debunking some of the claims, the bad math, that the alleged killer in the United Healthcare CEO murder case was claiming in his manifesto. Here to describe and discuss those things is the man who says all good liberty lovers should move to New Hampshire. It's Jeremy Kaufman joining us live on the show this morning. Good morning, Jeremy. Good to see you, sir.
So it's great to be here with you, as always.
Glad to have you. So what is the claim? What was the beef that this Luigi Mangione wrote in his manifesto that drove him to allegedly attempt to assassinate this United Healthcare CEO? What were his specific claims?
Yeah, so you'll see these infographics where the United States spends more money on healthcare than any other country in the world, yet we're really lagging in life expectancy. So our life expectancy is like 30th or 40th or something like this, in the world. And so you look at this one infographic and it can look a little damning for the U.S., but there are really good explanations for it. And so what I think it really shows is that we need some common sense infographic control. That some of these infographics can be really dangerous. Maybe people aren't mature enough to look at all information. So maybe we need some sort of that's of course a joke.
We get it.
There's really good explanations for this. It is true that we spend more money on healthcare, and our life expectancy is lower. And the explanation here is a lot of healthcare consumption is something of a luxury good that does not actually make us healthier. So United States is the richest country in the world. We have more disposable income than any country in the world. And the richer you are and the more disposable income you have, the more money you tend to spend on healthcare. Healthcare is something that we actually don't, it's not something like, oh, I have enough of it. Every country, the more money people have, the more money they spend on healthcare. And also something that's interesting is the richer countries are, the more money healthcare costs. So it's not something where the wealthier country is, the more efficient they get at healthcare. Actually, healthcare costs rise with wealth in every country in the world. And again, so the richest country in the world also has the most expensive healthcare. So why doesn't this actually achieve positive outcomes? Well, we're also the fattest, most violent and drug-addicted country in the world, and it turns out that there's no amount of medicine that will solve those problems.
No, for sure. I don't see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. banning red dye number 6 as preventing people from getting it. Now we're all just going to have to get our Twinkies and our Ho-Hos from the dark web or something. But I want to talk to you about the first post here that you have talking about healthcare spending, and you posted it along with some charts that show the countries and the health share of consumption that rises rapidly with incomes. You say the richer a country is, the more they spend on health care. The U.S. is the richest country in the world, and it spends the most on health care. In brackets, you say it's important to use real income for this analysis, not GDP. My beef with GDP is always that it includes government spending as a portion of domestic product, which is that's the parasitic part of the economy, the unproductive sector of the economy. It's not even fair to include that, in my opinion. But when you say use real income for this analysis, can you please, for those of us who are not who are deficient in math, why should we use real income for this analysis and not GDP?
Real income is the best measure of money that households have to actually spend. So real income is essentially measuring how much money does the average person in a country's economy have to actually spend on goods and services.
So the next claim that you make here, the U.S. spends more on health care because it consumes more. The richer a country is, the more health care it consumes. Given more money, people simply consume more health care, is what you're saying?
That's right. So, and this is why I called it a luxury good. A lot of healthcare spending is simply, if you have more money, you seem to spend more money on healthcare. So there are some goods we've seen, for example, food. Food has really shrunk as the percentage of spending in budgets compared to history. Healthcare doesn't appear to work this way. The more disposable income, the more money we spend on our health.
Forgive my ignorance on this, Jeremy, but I'm genuinely curious. Do you know if the healthcare spending includes things like elective procedures or not just like actual health care for things people need, but also all of the spending that goes into plastic surgery, boob jobs, tummy tucks, testosterone replacement therapy for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and all that stuff?
That's right. It includes all these things. So I didn't include these graphs, but all this data comes from a blogger, an anonymous economics blogger, not me. Random Critical Analysis is his website, randomcriticalanalysis.com. He did all this work. I did none of it. I had just read this work years ago. He did this work in 2018, 2019, 2020, and it had just stuck with me. So I pulled it back up, posted it to X, and I got attention for someone else's work. I want to give credit to this guy. Because he's the one who generated all these graphs.
You also write in this that profit margins and compensation in healthcare aren't high. That's an inflammatory statement, Jeremy, because it undermines the left's entire narrative that the profiteering pharmaceutical companies and and the networks and the healthcare networks and providers are getting rich at the expense of the little guy and denying coverage, working with the insurance companies to force us out of the system and to make it more expensive so they can pad their lucrative salaries. But you say profit margins and compensation in healthcare aren't high. Can you back that up?
Again, all what's backing all this up is you take a plot, you put income on the x-axis, you put the other variable on the y-axis, and you graph them. And so are they within that 95% band confidence interval? And the answer is yes. So there doesn't appear to be anything out of line here. Wealthier countries, they spend more, they have more, they spend more in healthcare. Healthcare costs more. This just appears to be the trend in all countries. And so the U.S. is number one, because we're the wealthiest.
You say healthcare in the U.S. is not especially profitable compared to other sectors. For example,
manufacturing. I would have to actually pull up the graph to remember some of the other sectors. But think about general sectors of the economy, manufacturing, like tech, for example. I believe tech is way more profitable than healthcare. So I think healthcare, and I mean this is true of so many things. We see these gaudy numbers about the total amounts of money that these companies are bringing in, but often the profit margins are really, really low. So if we look at we had Kamala Harris, of course, attacking the grocery industry. What's the profit margin of the grocery industry? It's a couple percent of their total income. And the same thing with healthcare. Basically none of these companies are making more than 5%, and often profit margins are again in the 2 or 3% range. And so, if you're saying that they're so greedy, look, if they were making no money, you'd be paying 3% less. So it's not like most of this money is going into their pocket.
Yeah. Oh, another claim that you make, Jeremy, here is that you say money has diminishing returns on its abilities to extend life. These are very plainly worded statements that if you said this at a socialist town hall meeting, they would probably murder you like Luigi Mangione allegedly did to the United Healthcare CEO. You say Norway and Luxembourg spend twice as much as Spain and Italy to no result. What does that mean, Jeremy?
So what this graph is doing is you take income on the x-axis and you do life expectancy. And now the U.S. does fall. The U.S. is not in the confidence interval here, but we do see that more spending, more spending does to a point seem to increase life expectancy, but it really flatlines at numbers much lower than what the U.S. is spending. And so you'll see countries like these more wealthy European countries that are literally spending twice as much money as poorer European countries, and they have the same life expectancy outcomes. We do see that poorer countries have lower life expectancy. It's unclear if that's actually mediated by healthcare or by other factors that make those countries poor. So I'm not claiming even healthcare explains that, but it is clear that there are substantially, even if you gave healthcare credit for all of these outcomes, there are clearly diminishing returns, past a certain point.
And the next claim here that you make on your post that went mega viral here, Jeremy, is that the U.S. is uniquely drug addicted, uniquely violent, and uniquely fat. The U.S. has shorter life expectancies due to the behavioral choices of its residents. money alone can't solve obesity or a gunshot. Why would you say something so controversial and yet so brave?
This is sort of one of the dirty secrets of the United States that affects not just healthcare, but our education outcomes and all kinds of other outcomes. And it's remarkable because the U.S. is the wealthiest country in the world. It's the greatest country in the world. We accomplish so much, not just the United States, for the entire world. And we do it with a larger underclass than actually any other country in the world that achieves these things. So the United States has this band of its population that does a lot of drugs, that is violent, that is obese, has higher percentages of these things than other nations, and these things have really big effects, on your health and on health outcomes. Same thing for educational outcomes as well, right? So when you disaggregate these aggregate statistics, so you'll see these aggregate statistics about U.S. life outcomes, about U.S. school outcomes. If you disaggregate them and make comparisons, the U.S. looks great again. People who get cancer treatments in the U.S. do better than people who get cancer treatments in Europe. Similarly, German Americans have better health outcomes than Germans, right? And so it's only when we aggregate these statistics and include certain portions of the U.S. population that don't perform as well that the U.S. looks bad in these aggregate numbers. And the same exact phenomenon, not to jump subject insurance, but the same exact phenomenon happens with school outcomes. So you'll see the U.S. schools, U.S. schooling doesn't look great when you aggregate all the numbers, but if you disaggregate them and you say, well, how do Japanese Americans compare to Japanese people in Japan? Again, the U.S. looks great again. So it's an artifact of aggregating all U.S. populations where the U.S. has this band of its population that just doesn't perform as well.
That underclass that's Jeremy's mentioning right there, another controversial and brave statement. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Jeremy Kaufman. He's a prominent libertarian, specifically from New Hampshire, and he has posted a series of tweets that went mega viral yesterday. They got reposted by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy talking about debunking the claims that were there, or the specific claim that was made by Luigi Mangione. He is the suspect in the slaying of the United Healthcare CEO in New York City last week. Jeremy had written that Luigi Mangione's manifesto includes a superficially damning claim. In the manifesto, the alleged killer had said that the U.S. has the number one most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. So where are the leftists pulling these statistics? I mean, is this like a deliberate attempt by communists and Marxists to drive people like Luigi Mangione to push for the Marxist revolution, to pull to be a conspiracy theorist here? But I mean, when they cite these statistics, I mean, here's the thing: the guy was a valedictorian. I mean, he kind of ran in our circles a little bit as well. Other than being an anti-capitalist, he was like kind of a Tucker Carlson fan and liked Jordan Peterson. He had some kind of a back injury, which might have contributed to some of this. But I mean, this kid was not stupid, right? But he fell for this. I mean, it's kind of sadistic and twisted, but I mean, you could see how people could easily be fooled by things like this, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, well, I'm not alleging any conspiracy here, although I'm open to them. I thought his final manifesto was quite a bit stupider than some of his earlier posts and his earlier writings. I think it's plausible that he underwent some kind of schizophrenic break, potentially related to too many psychedelic drugs. He actually seemed smart enough that he wouldn't fall for such a it's a very superficial claim. You don't have to dig into it very much. If you have an engineering and a curious intellectual mindset, well, why is the U.S. 42nd in life outcomes? Despite he seems like the kind of person who would have been smart enough to get past that. So it was a little bit surprising to me to see his manifesto hinge on that specific claim, because it doesn't take that much research. I mean, you could ask ChatGPT, and it would probably explain some of this stuff to you. And so that was surprising, because it doesn't take that much digging in to get to some of these answers.
Well, speaking about health outcomes, a lot of people are pinning their hopes on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the head of the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm reading in Fox News this morning, for example, red food dye could soon be banned as FDA reviews the petition. They say it's scary stuff, the potential health benefits, potential health effects of red number 3 dyes. I'm also reading a story this morning about 10 different food items related to soybeans and canola oil, corn oils, and others that may be banned if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has his way. Do you think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., by banning certain food additives and seed oils and certain food dyes, do you think that we'll be able to improve our health outcomes through such government tactics?
Yeah, mostly no. There's like 10 to 20% of this that I think there might be something to it, but I think it's mostly people need to be looking to themselves and taking control of their own lives. You know, if you are concerned about certain oils being bad for you or certain substances being bad for you, these are things that you mostly can control them yourself.
No. It's not. It's not me. I want to protect you from going to McDonald's, Jeremy.
Yeah, we all want some hero to come in or some external factor because we want to avoid responsibility for ourselves. Yeah, I was starting to get a little bit chunky after my first couple of kids. I wasn't watching my weight. I had crossed 200 pounds, and I was like, man, what am I doing? And I spent a couple of years paying attention to what I was eating, going to the gym, got it back under control. And so I think this is something where people need to look to themselves first. You can't be expecting someone else to come in and solve these problems for you.
Yeah, but that's kind of the problem is that after years of fighting the left on these issues, it appears as if people in our camp, Jeremy, are kind of falling for this idea that if we just ban certain food additives and we ban certain things, they're not talking about getting rid of the subsidies. Right? They're all, if at the top, most of the people, even on our side, are all, they're not going to get rid of the subsidies. So what happens when we ban the production of a food item, and we're also subsidizing the creation of it, and then we can't export it because that would be sending food or money or whatever to our enemies and things like that? I mean, do you share the same skepticism as some of these people do on like GMOs and different things like that? Because I mean, they're calling for outright bans, and to me, it seems very opposed to what we just voted for in the last couple months. I mean, I didn't vote for Trump because of RFK Jr. I was more of the Vivek, Elon Musk, Doge kind of team and stuff like that. But, a lot of people who are in our camps, I've been to Pork Fest, and honestly, there's people who say in one breath that they're a libertarian and then the next breath, and that's why we have to ban red food dye number 6 via government fiat.
I don't think it makes any sense. I will say, I am a bit of maybe not a contrarian, but I like to make the argument for both sides. So I'll give you a little bit the best libertarian argument for some of this stuff.
Let's hear it.
I want to be clear. I'm against the bans. I wouldn't ban any of these things.
Okay.
There are some substances that have sort of been grandfathered in to this FDA recognition as generally recognized as safe. And if these substances have this GRAS standard, food manufacturers who use them are not like literally exempt under the law, but they kind of in a de facto sense, are exempt. And so I do think that doesn't make complete sense for the government to be granting these. So what do they actually mean? If they mean, removing the GRAS application to some of these dyes, I actually think that would be within bounds for me, because I think there is it's at least questionable. Like I wouldn't say the government should go around saying these things definitely don't hurt you, right? And so I think if we're talking about if RFK wants to remove government stamps saying, hey, this is absolutely safe for manufacturers to use, I would be okay with things along those kinds of lines. And my ideal answer, which this idea doesn't get talked about enough, so I'd love to introduce it to your audience, is we can use the power of futures markets, right? So futures markets are what Polymarket did, these betting markets that allow people to put their money where their mouth is around factual claims. And, I am open-minded on this health stuff. When I dig in, am I convinced that seed oils are the problem? I'm not at all convinced. Do I think it is like potentially true? Like, am I absolutely convinced that it's not true? Neither, right? Like I have a mixed set of probabilities in my own head about what the truth is here. And futures markets are great for getting to the bottom of this. We can have a betting market, for these. We can say, this is how we actually determine the truth. This is what a rigorous scientific test looks like. We can make sure that these scientific tests can be done by private companies and not just captured institutions. We can take a portion of the bets and put that in a pool to find the actual evidence, and let's use markets. Right, markets are the most powerful tool that we have, one of the best tools humans have ever invented, and we can use markets to get to the truth, rather than these one-size-fits-all, authoritarian solutions.
Yeah, I'd love to see something like that get a little bit more traction, Jeremy, because I think it is going to help us get to the bottom of things. Like when it comes to the question of whether or not vaccines cause autism, I think I come on the same side of things as you do, that do I think that they do? Probably not, but am I completely convinced? No. Am I willing to change my mind? Absolutely. And that's why when I see that, RFK and Trump are talking about it and they're like, oh, we're going to do this investigation, all this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I'm actually kind of glad that they will, because I'd love to see what the outcome of those investigations will be. And that way we can kind of put it to bed. But, there's a lot of vested interests, Jeremy. I mean, you and I, we kind of dwell in this activist world, and it's like things kind of get a little suspicious and a little bit stinky, because there's a lot of monetization that goes on for some of these causes and pet causes. And for example, if you see someone who's never changed their mind about something, right, it's because they've built an audience around these ideas, selling products, building a persona around these ideas. And if you change your mind, you suddenly lose your audience. So there is kind of like this I would say this financial angle to people who push some of these ideas, whether it's for big pharma or against big pharma, something like that, where there's this what do you call it? Is it moral hazard that's introduced into discussions about these things? We have a lot of bad actors when it comes to these conversations, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think it's not even intentionally bad acting a lot of the time. When we have when our interests encourage us to think a certain way, we tend to think that way, and so there really are very few truly truth-seeking, without bias, institutions trying to figure these things out. I think the right wing in general is really lacking scientific and data-based institutions, and needs to be building some of these things up so that these things can be studied in a way that right-wing people can actually trust, and it's not the same institutions. But I think where I agree with you completely is like it would be a huge mistake to just have like the new if we get into this place where every 4 years we vote and then like someone else is in charge and then all the bans change and every 4 years what's legal and not legal is changing, like it's so terrible. This is not the way that America is supposed to function. One of my favorite examples of this is the flow rate of shower heads. This is one of my favorite examples of government overreach. Is like, why is the federal government like deciding the maximum flow rate of water in my shower head? And so in 2016 Trump was elected. He unilaterally eliminated the flow rate rules. Biden comes back in. He puts them back in. Trump's going to get elected. Trump's elected. He's going to remove them again. It's like, do we really want to be voting every 4 years, like on the flow rate of our shower heads? Like, this is an insane way, to be resolving these questions. And so similarly, like, having all of these bans happen, like we've got to find what would be way better is if the right can find persistent, solutions to this that aren't these unilateral authoritarian solutions.
Yeah, I don't trust very many people, Jeremy. I've for years so many shysters out there taking advantage of people, just scammers, right? The Hawk Tuah girl and different things like that. But the only people I tend to trust a little bit are the ones who, if they build up an audience, are willing to say things that will deliberately piss that audience off that they believe are true, which earlier this year you went viral for telling the feds to fuck off, which was a beautiful moment, right? You've got like 200,000 followers over there on X right now because of that. And then I think something like a month later or 2 months later, you went on some spree where people were just attacking you, calling you a Jew, and like all these different things. You were like debunking the identity politics that was going on the right. And I was just sitting back, just enjoying the show, just applauding, because I was like, and there's things like that make me trust you. I mean, I saw somebody on Facebook like 2 days ago, Jeremy, who I guess they had shared your post here that went viral, and then somebody apparently some group of people got to them and told them never to talk to you or never to share things from you. You're a hateful, bigoted, whatever, evil racist or whatever, something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I think things like that make me trust Jeremy a little bit more. So I invite him on my show. So Jeremy, thanks for coming on. Whatever you celebrate in this holiday season, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and just have a great fucking holiday season, man. Thanks for your time, and thanks for debunking all the bullshit and for even calling out your own side when they're wrong. I think that's very brave.
Agree with you completely. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good one. That's Jeremy Coughlin. Let's give him a round of applause. Say you. That's good shit, man. That's good stuff. You don't get those kinds of interviews anywhere else, only here on the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Can you bless me with something?
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise.
Please. Can you suck it?
What? Head on over to forlibertyshop.com this morning. The time is counting down. The number of days of which you can buy the delicious Holiday Blends coffee are only few. If you like that interview and you like those conversations and you know you don't hear them anywhere else, support the show. Go to forlibertyshop.com and get a box of our delicious Founding Flavors coffee. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. Go to forlibertyshop.com. Grab yourself a box of roasted chestnut delight. Delicious. Founding Flavors coffee, Martha's Mint. Only for a limited time, guys. Get those orders in right now, and you need coffee now. We're going to have Daniela Pensack here in a little bit less than 5 minutes to talk about this story. A OnlyFans influencer had an encounter with 100 men, and after that encounter with 100 men, the documentary was released where she was talking about it. This is that moment.
It's not for the weak, girls.
Just FYI, if you have children listening, or if you are very ultra hyper socially conservative, the next 30 minutes of the show are not going to be in your interest. I just want to warn you because typically it's pretty kid-friendly over here, but this morning, this topic, not kid-friendly. We are now going rated X. So guys, turn it down for the kids, okay?
It's not for the weak, girls. If I'm honest, it was hard. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Why not?
I think if you're a different type of girl, it's very like, it's kind of like being a prostitute in a sense of like, it's just a different feeling. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
it's not like just having sex with someone.
Yeah. Just one in, one out. Like it feels intense.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. Just take
yeah, 1 minute.
Now, one would think, oh, the consequences of your actions, accountability. No, and you would think that the left would be the ones jumping to defend her. No, it's conservative women on the right, like Julie Bindel, who over in The Spectator wrote, "The men who exploited Lily Phillips should be ashamed." When women like Lily talk about being driven by a sexual desire, this is all part of the fantasy constructed for men. Well, let me just tell you something. Before we get Danielle on here, let me just say something that, we're going to discuss this in great detail, gory detail, as much as we can and try not to get, shut down. As a young man, I consumed this media to a certain extent, right? This is back when Ethernet first started to get pumped into your college rooms, and you're like, oh, wow, look at this. I consider myself a pretty normal dude when it comes to these things. No, nothing like too ostentatiously weird when it comes to my desires in such a way. Now, I'm a happily married man. Love my wife, right? One woman for me. But I think that 100 dudes in one day is not kind of the standard male fantasy. I'm pretty sure that most guys are more interested in perhaps if it were the other way around, right? One guy, 100 girls. That would be kind of the standard male fantasy, right? So this idea that this is a desire constructed. That some men, would they be into it? Sure, absolutely, right? And are those 100 guys probably never get it anywhere else? This is the only time that they could ever have something like that or be with a woman like that, so they're going to take that opportunity, right? So the question here is who's to blame? Is there such a thing? Accountability, women, kryptonite, women, the consequences of your own decisions, conservative women defending the sleuths from the consequences of their own decisions. Oh, it's the consequence. Oh, look at this, the repercussions from my own behavior. It's the men's fault that I'm doing this, that I'm such a... Oh man, YouTube's gonna take us down. All right, so go buy some coffee to help us counter the demonetization. That's inevitable when we get back. on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
if I'm honest. It was hard. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Why not?
I think if you're a different type of girl, it's very like, it's kind of like being a prostitute in a sense of like, it's just a different feeling. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
It's not like just having sex with someone.
yeah. Just one in, one out. Like, it feels intense.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh, she's crying, guys. She's crying. Look, you made the woman cry. Therefore, men are to blame. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. That's the number 4, libertynetwork.com. The Liberty Network has 3 shows. That's me, the Wake Up America show, 7 to 9 a.m., and then it has Culturama, 7 to 9 p.m. Daniela Pensack is the host of Culturama, and she does 7 to 9 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that means tonight, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time, you can watch Daniela Pensack and Culturama. And right after, the Liberty Tonight boys, the king of all libertarians, the benevolent dictator of liberty. Don't worry, I'm sure once we centralize all power and authority in his hands, he will make sure that we are all free, all safe, and all prosperous, as well as his co-host, Brian Piotr. It's a great talk show. You can only find these shows at 4libertynetwork.com. Now, when I saw this story about this OF fan, I thought to myself, this is a great story. We should talk about it with Daniela. I got to be really careful about how I talk about this. As a matter of fact, I have to be extremely careful about how I talk about this. And I have to say to you guys that I'm kind of nervous about letting this go on YouTube. And X, I know, is fine, but here's the deal. Rumble is where it's at. Rumble.com/AP for Liberty. I'm taking this show down, okay? If you're watching us on X, if you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to see like a green screen. It's going to wash over us. If you're watching us on Rumble, you're watching us on Locals, it's totally fine. This conversation is a little too spicy for the social networks that despise people like me and people like my next guest. So if you want to continue to watch this, hear this conversation, hear this topic, you got to be on Rumble, you got to be on Locals. So this is your warning that if you're watching us or listening to us on X and you want to continue to hear this conversation, take it over to rumble.com/AP for Liberty. That's rumble.com/AP for Liberty, because in just a few seconds, I'm about to turn off the stream over on YouTube and over on X. So you will not be able to hear us. You will not be able to see us. You have to go to rumble.com/AP for Liberty. Again, this morning. Thank you, Joe. I wonder if I can turn us back on over there. Let's see. Yeah, now that we're not talking about that sexy stuff. Okay, yeah, there we go. So if you are watching us on one of those other platforms, thanks very much. We appreciate all of our viewers and listeners, but I especially just got to give it out. Give it up the big shout out for my Rumble fans, guys. You're awesome. And locals. Rumble.com/AP4Liberty. CO Day, Dad Bod Baboon, Sign of Jonah, Tolly, what's up, Tolly? John and KC, Look, it's Liz, Mighty Megatron, InJam77, Cecilia, Blutrike, Luke Sacker, Dad Bod Baboon, Kim McCurry, Entropy Nomad, Whitey White 14, Sign of Jonah, and Look, it's Liz, all of our friends over on the Wake Up America show's live stream chat. Thank you. You guys are the best. Yes, it is. It's time to start the rest of your day. I'll miss you guys very much until tomorrow morning when we have the lovely Stephanie Peterson and baby Hazel in the chat. Also, we got a shout out Nelson65, per usual. Nelson, always a big supporter of the show and helping us to set up and break down every single day. We're so grateful to all of our friends of the show. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow morning, right, on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state! Reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!